What's up, guys? Daniel here. Episode number 10 of the Gaming Startup. It is November 8th, 2016. Um, so I'm just like giving my intros kind of at the start just so everyone can keep track. So I'm at 97 followers on my Twitch account right now. So we're very close to that 100. I'm actually super duper excited. I'm not going to actually talk too much about my past week of like Twitch experiences in too much depth. I have some other stuff that I actually wanted to kind of cover today. I have them written on these like sticky notes that I keep at work, and I'm gonna like try and go over a little bit of like some of the thoughts that I have like during the day. So the first thing I want to like kind of go over is like what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And I know that's like, oh well, you just have this like little Twitch channel and you know nothing about being an entrepreneur. And that's true, but not completely. Um, like, yeah, I don't have like this huge successful company yet, so no, I can't say like, yes, I'm this entrepreneur. However, I have done enough like studying and research and like enough practice, and things have moved forward enough that I feel like I can confidently say um, I'm an entrepreneur. Now I'm just like, or even like, I think they call it wantrepreneur. So maybe I'm a wantrepreneur. Like I want to do this, and like this is kind of my desire, and I'm working towards it. And I don't know when do I get to call myself an entrepreneur, but I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit about like what that's like or what that's been like for me. So a year ago, probably more than a year ago now, maybe a year and 3 months ago, I had a friend come over and he kind of talked about like making money online. And at that point, I was actually like, I was just starting to like make YouTube videos, um, just like really casually, and was like, okay, maybe I'll like get onto online gaming. And he kind of showed me like this online like affiliate marketing type stuff where you can like build a website, you direct people through the website, you send them to like products and stuff. They buy the products, you get a little bit of commission for sending them there, and it kind of sounded pretty legitimate. I know how to build websites, so I'm like, okay, well, this is something that I might be able to do. So I went to work on that. I spent like that whole year like learning about like how to build the websites better, like how to use WordPress, get your domain names, like all this stuff. Like I did websites, back when I was just like coding with HTML, so I hadn't like used WordPress, I hadn't used any of these plugins. Like it's so much easier now than when I was doing it. But I had to like kind of relearn a lot of it. So like relearning CSS. I didn't really relearn too much JavaScript. But anyways, so I kind of worked this out. I was doing a lot of that. I actually was like learning how to use like Google Analytics, like finding out like what keywords are being searched on Google. So I was doing all this stuff. It was like really labor intensive. I listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours of podcasts, if not thousands of hours. Um, Read a ton of articles. Was learning about search engine optimization, like all this kind of stuff. And so it was good, and I learned a lot. And I started doing it, and like the website stuff, like I was actually really enjoying it. I was building it, and it was fantastic. When I got to like actually writing like the content for what I was doing, I had no interest, and I had no passion in it. What it is, just so you guys know, so I own and I still own it, and I still have it for another year. Is thebestnursingbras.com. Is actually something I own because I did all like the Google Analytics, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of people searching for nursing bras, and there's like no website dedicated to nursing bras. So I'm like, I'll make that website, I'll fill that niche, and then people can go there, buy stuff, and I can make a commission for it. So I have like no background in it whatsoever, so I had to like spend all this time researching. I know more about nursing bras than you guys will ever know about video games at this point in my life. Like I spent a whole year learning about these things. Anyways, that's besides the point. But the thing is, like, I got down to like writing these articles, and I did write a few articles, like 10,000 word articles, and it's just like I don't want to do this every day. Like it's just not of interest to me. And it took me like a whole year to kind of like discover that and like realize that like to be an entrepreneur, you really do have to follow your passion. Like it really has to be something like I want to wake up and do this every single day, because you will get to a point, kind of like in your entrepreneurial career where you're like, I don't want to do this. And once you hit that wall, you have to like get to that point where you're like, but I love it, right? Or you get to that point of I don't love it, and that's when you quit, right? And you'll always hit that wall. You either hit that wall of saying it's like, screw it, I'm not making any money, I don't even care, I just want to do this, and like that's what's going to push you forward and help you actually be successful. But then there's that point that if you're just doing something because you think it's like popular or what people need, um, it just becomes a job at that point, and then there's like no motivation. It's like I'm working so hard um, for something that like I don't even necessarily like want to do every single day. And that's kind of the realization I came to. No, it's not wasted by any means. Like I learned a lot. Like I learned so much in that last year, and so much of like really useful, applicable stuff. Like I learned how to become a marketer. I learned how to like present myself better. I learned how to like speak better. Um, just like I learned all these different skills, and like a lot of them I'm transitioning over into like the gaming startup. So it's like it wasn't a waste, but that being said, it's a lesson, right? I learned a lesson. I learned that you need to have passion when you're trying to be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, it's just going to be another job. So I say that to say, if you're getting into like say streaming, say this is what you're following after, or like a website or YouTube or whatever it is that you're kind of looking at this channel for, always start with the end in mind. Meaning that like if this takes off and is like really successful, it's like, is this where I want to be in 10 years, right? And if the answer is no, don't pursue it, right? It's not worth it. It is so stressful to like do this, and it's great and I love it. But the only reason I can like withstand all the stress is because I love it, right? Like I've been getting like 6 hours of sleep a night. I'm like trying to find every spare moment to like think about my stream, work on stuff. Like all these concepts are running through my head like all the time. I'm stealing time essentially to do this because I love it. I'm like you can't borrow time for forever on something that you don't love. Like you'll just burn out. And so that being said, really find something that you actually love and think in terms of long term. Like if in 5 years it doesn't get you towards where you want to be, then don't go there. And like the same thing with university. Like I took, and it took me a while to like actually admit this, but like I took university because I felt like it was the right thing to do. Like I felt that's just what you do. Like I'm very intelligent. I did really well in high school. And then everyone's like, well, you go to university, and that's the thing that you do. And I knew, and like I verbalized this before I even went to university. I had no idea what the hell I wanted to do. Like, no idea whatsoever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into psychology because I like people and my aunt's a psychologist. Like, that is literally, like, the thought process that went into, like, what's going to potentially be 10 years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars of education. Like, absurd that you make decisions like that just because, right? But we do all the time, right? We're just like, well, this is the default. This is like, what we're told to do, and then go do it. And, I actually ended up dropping out of the psychology program after like 2.5 or 3 years of it. Switched over to human resources. Like the human resources, again, it wasn't like super duper my passion, but it like at least had it end in mind. Like it's like, okay, I do human resources for a couple of years and I can go get an HR job and I can work a good job while I'm figuring out what to do. Now I'm at the point where I've like I don't have that indecision anymore. Like when I was 20 or 18 or whatever, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea like where I wanted to be. Going through university, going through multiple university degrees, like working on this project for the last year, it's just helping me refine that idea better and better and better, and I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and like now I finally settled on something that I'm content with, I'm happy with. Like the thought of doing this long term makes me happy. I love hanging out on my Twitch stream. I'm getting to like that flow state. Like it's awesome. It's like firing on all cylinders, and like no, it's not growing nearly as fast as I want it to. Yes, I would love it if I just like went on and I had 10,000 followers, but like it doesn't even matter, right? And that's like the difference is like when my other stuff wasn't growing, it's just like I just feel super discouraged, and I pushed through really hard for a long time, like doing something for a year for and like my wife was pushing back on me. She's like she didn't really like the idea all that much, but she didn't really care because it was like whatever, it's just a hobby. It's not like I'm wasting a bunch of money on it. But it was like I was fighting an uphill battle, and like now, yeah, my wife is still not super happy I spent all this time like shooting videos and stuff because she doesn't necessarily get it, and I get it. Once I make it, I think she'll like understand it a bit more. Like she's just not in the gaming scene, right? So, um, but that being said, like it's there's so many highs and lows with like being this like entrepreneur. Like it's just ups and downs all the time. Like when there's people in my stream, I feel fantastic. I feel elated. It's so awesome. And when there's like nobody or there's like one or two people, I just feel like I failed, and like what am I doing with my life? Why am I wasting all this time? Like it's like this consistent like roller coaster, and like I'm just gonna say it's not for everyone. Like they kind of like push it out there like this is like the thing that you do, and like you know everyone should run their own business, and I don't actually think that's true. I think it takes like a really specific personality to like push through this, to like be able to like push aside everything that everyone else is saying and like push through to like your own goal. I don't think that it's like the temperament for everybody. I don't think it should be either. I think if everyone started their own business, we'd have no employees and stuff just wouldn't get done. Like it doesn't work for everyone being like the head of a business. Like it just doesn't. And like my wife, for instance, like she's a nurse and she's a fantastic nurse. And I think that's like a really, really good role for her. Like she likes structure, she likes organization, she likes helping people, and I think like it just suits her really well. And I feel like there's like a mesh of like person and job, and it just works really well. Whereas like with me, I just like I'm constantly fighting my jobs. Like I hate like every job I do. um like, and this doesn't mean I do it poorly. Like, I still show up, I try and work, I try and be the very best that I can be, but I'm like, why am I like pouring my heart and soul into these jobs for other people who like don't appreciate it? I feel like I'm undercompensated. um and just like they don't like, I just have so much more to offer, and people just like want to put me in this little box, right? They're like, oh well, just like data entry. I'm like, look, I can like program your website. Like I can bring in customers. Like, and and a lot of people are just like, no, this is what you're hired to do. Go do your job. And I just like, I don't know. I just feel so restrained. And like I get it. You still have to have like the heart of a servant. Like you have to like serve somebody else before you can have your own vision, and that's a skill you have to learn. And like learning how to be content is a skill. And it's something that I've had to learn. But I'm also getting to that point in my life where I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to start to take charge and to like start to grow something, because like that's my passion and that's what I want to do. So that's kind of like just my thoughts on being an entrepreneur, is that there's just a lot of up and downs. Don't go into it because you feel like you need to. If you like your job, if you like working for somebody, there's nothing wrong with that. Like this is my dream and my passion. If you're happy, like hanging out at work and doing your job and just like providing for your family, that is awesome. Like be happy with that. Like you're a hero. Like any guy who provides for his family, in my opinion, is a hero. I don't care if you're scrubbing toilets. Actually, especially if you're scrubbing toilets, if you're willing to like serve your family on that level, that you're willing to do something that's like demeaning, right, to provide for your family, you are a freaking rock star. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Like, like my dad worked his way up. Like he's a business owner now, but like he worked his way up from like being like a welder to like a roofer, and now he like works in like just like industries that I'm not even going to go into. But like he did like that hard work and just provided for his family and worked 2 or 3 jobs, and like he built something, and that's like awesome. And that's what I want to do, is like I want to build something. I want to like be able to say it's like, hey, I built that. Like that was nothing and now it's something, and like that's my dream. um Sorry, this is like really long already, and this is like just point number one. But there's Okay, so it's like some of the other stuff I learned being this entrepreneur is that action is very, very important. I spent a lot of time, I guess, studying with like the first project that I was working on, and then by the time it came around to like doing stuff, I did it, and then I found out like, oh, I'm not like in love with this, and I spent like all this time studying and like getting ready till I was like hyper ready to do this, only to find out that it like wasn't my passion. So that's kind of something I try and emphasize, is that you should always try and do stuff, right? Like learn something and then go try it out, right? Like practice, like learn something and then go do it. I think a lot of time we spend too much time in both of those camps, right? I think there's people who just like do, and they could easily like learn from other people's experience, and it would just help them so much, right? And they just like do everything the hard way, and I don't think that's the way to go. But then there's other people who like overanalyze, and I think I fell a little bit into this camp where I'm like sitting here reading like hundreds of books, like listening to all these podcasts. Like, I was working slowly, but I wasn't really like getting down to it, like spending like 20 hours a week, like grinding it out. And I think if I had done that while I was learning, I would have been able to make adjustments way sooner than like spend a whole year to only find out that I'm like not that interested. Like, it's great. I pivoted and now I'm doing something that I really like. But I could have probably got that a lot sooner. So that's kind of like a tip to you guys, is like do both, right? Spend time learning, but like for every hour you spend learning, you should be spending like 10 hours doing, right? Or like 5 hours. I don't know what the ratio is. I'm just like throwing out numbers, but you shouldn't spend like hundreds of hours learning and then like, 10 hours doing, right? Or vice versa. You need to kind of like, you need to spend a lot more time like like go read one really good book, go find a fantastic book and like study it and practice everything in those chapters, right? That'll do you so much more good than reading 10 books and just like conceptually having that knowledge and never having applied any of it, right? I think it's much better to find like one good piece of information and like work it out really, really well, and then you'll see much better results. Like I think you just need to like apply. I think so often we just learn stuff and we never apply it. And especially when you're doing this entrepreneurial stuff, like go learn, go apply. If you hit a wall or you want to speed things up, then go back to read. But until you've exhausted the knowledge you have, I don't think it's like necessarily in your benefit to keep studying. Um, Okay, so another concept I want to bring to your guys' attention is what's considered the unfair advantage. Okay, so what is an unfair advantage? Is that like what's your brand different? Like what makes you different? I just like totally botched that word. But like what is the thing that like you can do that nobody else can do, right? What is the thing that you can provide that nobody else can provide? Like what makes you special, right? And like my brand, I don't know. I still haven't quite figured it out, but I think I'm learning is that I like to teach, right? Like part of who I am is a teacher, and I like to see people go from like 0 to 100, and that's why I'm making these videos, because like that's my heart, right? And there's like a lot of really fantastic Hearthstone players out there, like that are probably way better than me, right? But a lot of them don't have the heart to teach, right? And so I'm starting to learn that maybe that's my brand difference. Like that's what makes me different, is that like I want to like take the people who follow me and like teach them how to be successful, right? And like if they just want to be around, that's fine, they can be entertained. But like those few that do want to like start their own brand or like start their own channel, it's like, yes, I want to get behind you, I want to like encourage you, I want to like give you the tips and the tools and the tricks and like help you succeed. So like maybe that's what mine is. I don't know, I'm still working it out, right? And that's part of this process. But like, you know, what is the thing that you can do that nobody else can do? Do you have like, okay, in my case, like I have a sister who's into video games, right? Like how many guys can just like bring on somebody, or like, you know, that wants to come along with them, that's like interesting and, you know, whatever, right? Like that's something that I have that other people don't have. A lot of people are alone in their basements, and I have like interaction because I have a big family, right? So like that's something that I have. Um, sorry, I'm just like reading all my notes here. Okay, um, okay, the 80-20 rule is another thing that I wanted to bring up with you guys. So what the 80-20 rule is basically there's usually with any task, there's like 80% of it that's kind of like useless, or not useless, but like it takes up a large percentage of the time. It takes up like 80% of your time, and you only get about 20% of the results. And there's about 20% of the task that takes up like 80% of the results, right? And so when you're trying to like analyze something, it's always good to find like what is the thing or the few things that like gets me the most results, right? Like with any job, okay, so let's say you work at A&W. Let's just say that's your job, right? You flip burgers at A&W. It's like what is the benefit of you working at A&W? It's like, well, cooking. Cooking is probably what gets you the most benefit of at A&W. It's like you're sitting there, you're flipping burgers, you're making burgers, and you're taking in all the money by like doing that, right? Even though that might not be what you spend most of your time doing, you actually might spend most of your time cleaning, right? But cooking is actually like, it might not be the most time intensive, but it brings you the most benefit. Like that's what makes you all the money, is the cooking, right? Not necessarily the cleaning or the building maintenance or anything like that. And so when you're starting out, it's always good to like analyze like what is it, what's that 80% that gives me the most result, that like only takes 20% of my time. And so in my case, that's streaming. Like I have like a billion different things I really want to be doing right now. I want to like get my website going. I want to get all my social media going. I want like all these little programs. Like I have a trillion things running around in my head. But right now, streaming is the thing that brings people in. It's the thing that engages people, and it's the thing that's growing my audience the fastest, right? And so that's where I'm spending the majority of my time, because it has the biggest benefit. Now that other 20% is important, but like for right now, it's really important to like focus on the things you need to focus on, right? I could spend hours and hours and hours making all my little like images like perfect, and like getting all my artwork done perfect, and like spend a little bit of time streaming, and I would never ever grow, right? And so that's what you guys got to realize, like what's important, and focus that thing down. Like you'll have time for the other stuff, and like don't get me wrong, like I do some of that other stuff too, but like you really got to like be intentional with your time and intentional with your focus if you want to grow. If you don't do that, you'll be stuck in minutia for forever. So I'm picking up a book about the 80-20 rule, so I'll like get into it in a bit more depth later. Okay, I seriously have like pages and pages. I'm going to make a second video next week with more of these thoughts, because this is like already super duper long. But if you guys are interested in this, if you like the like more businessy type talk, more about like that type of stuff, let me know. Leave me a comment, leave me a like. I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to start trying to grow this YouTube channel a bit more, try and get my videos out on time, hopefully at some point. Probably won't be this month. I think I'm still behind 4 videos. But just let me know, guys. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, for the few of you who got to the end of this video. And yeah, I will see you guys in video 10. Love you very much, and take care. Okay, see ya.